reflect.
I realize what you were tasked with, but what if in fact we simply built a building, eliminated the walls, leave the pellet stove where it is, and built a new building in that area?
In here, around?
In that same exact area that you have identified as whatever. Would it be more or less than $1.5 million?
I suspect it would get up to those numbers pretty fast. And one of the reasons is, and I know it sounds silly, but one of the reasons is you've got this future square footage. I understand the word future, and do we use it or don't we, do we want it? But from our numbers, I'm not including anything here in these estimates to do anything with that.
No,
So it's kind of free space. If you go back to this, we're really dedicating most of this cost just on this core. I'm also not including anything other than roofing costs back in this extra footage. Mark's absolutely right, there is excess footage back in here. What do you do with that? I don't know. You got a big open cafeteria and you got a kitchen. But you have that footage, and in those numbers, I'm not really including any extra money to do anything to that. So there's no cost to repair it or anything except roof, if you put a roof on.
Go ahead, Representative Umberger.
I guess what I'm trying to drive at is the fact that if the renovation is going to be about $1.5 million of this particular core area, what would be the cost of simply demolishing it all and starting over again so that you have something that makes sense, instead of trying to work around things that may not make sense?
One of the things, and I don't know whether we have asked that question, so that, because I'm not sure that we brought that scenario up last time around to be able, what would it cost to replace the core with just the space that we need, was something, I don't think that we asked that question.
And as I said, I just was looking for a rough estimate.
Yeah.
We're talking about 4, 9, 10, we're talking about 12, so 8,000 square foot. 8 or 9,000 square foot building is what we're really.
Yes, but we have not asked for how would it cost if it was all brand new and leave the pellet stove and then just build a building around that core right there that's all brand new and not lose our piping.
And the footage would be what? Would be
Probably
exact
a
to say, what would that be? Would that be co-op?
Yeah, around 7,000,
It
8,000,
would be
9,000 square feet.
So
Yeah.
pellet, co-op, laundry,
And maintenance shop.
and maintenance. So it'd be these 4 uses, say.
Right.
Okay.
You know, maybe
Exclusive
9,
of a bus burn.
10, maybe 10,000 square feet. That was, I mean, I don't,
It's a good question.
I'm just looking at what we're talking about when we talk about, renovating the co-op to brand new at 500,000. A roof, another 600,000 if we want to do it right. And if we're in, if it's a question of we're in $500,000 for a brand new building, then it makes sense to go to a brand new building than it does to spend $1.5 million refurbishing it because of length of time that the building is available.
Yes, and I think that all of those options are still open, but for right now, what we are doing is seeing what it is for the use of the old one. The commissioners may decide in the end that, this isn't worth the money, so that this is why we are asking the question and we're doing it. But
Just a quick comment.
Yeah.
This is a little bit loose because I'm kind of winging it and Jim's tapping numbers behind you here. If we did 9,000 square feet of new space,
Let's say 10,000.
Yes.
say
10,000 is 1.5 million.
Well, if we said
Brand new
10,000
building.
square feet, and because some of it's shop and so forth, let's use an average number of 150. Say 150 a square foot. There's 1.5. Don't forget, you got to demo the facility,
Yeah.
which is our 300. So you got to add our 300,000, and that doesn't take care of a bus burn should we want to pursue it. Doesn't mean
Does
we
that
have
take
to.
care of the storage space too that Bob wanted in that 10,000?
No.
I don't think it
No.
does.
I think it would. I think it would come awful close.
It wouldn't, yeah, but it, okay. so that
10,000, because
general-
David just added
Dave said
1,000, so
10,000, yeah.
in
10,000 is
10,000
fine.
configured appropriately, I think it would come very close. It just wouldn't have the bus barn feature to it. It would certainly have storage, well, would it?
Okay,
No, it wouldn't.
Wouldn't.
Make it
You'd have to
11,000,
make another
I don't
space.
care, but we're not using 6,000, you told us.
I
And
think-
so we're already at
I
9,000.
think the point is you would close, and we could be happy to do that exercise for you, but I think you'd quickly close on 2 million. You'd start to get upwards of 2 million. Because you've got to do the $300,000 demo,
And
unfortunately.
that probably, to me, makes more sense than trying to,
but let's have that discussion as we talk. Okay, Representative McConkey, Fleck, and McCarthy.
Thank you. To respond a little to Representative Schmidt and less to a degree to Representative Unberger, if the grant money became an issue and the building was demolished out of there, at some number, a metal building could be affixed right over that same spot, and we could still use all of our hardware that's there.
Agree.
So that in itself is not an issue. I'm not proposing taking the whole building down, but please don't confuse the issue with that we're going to lose some money. The discussion on a equipment barn and a bus barn is not even, I don't even believe, in our question that we're looked for answers that we've even asked for. My wife would like to have a garage to put her car into, but we can't afford to build one and we don't have one. You have buses that sit outside, that can continue to sit outside. We have space already available in existing buildings that I've spoken of several times that could house those for those periods of time when cold temperature precludes being outside. So please, I'd rather not even discuss that new wish list that's been added here unless Representative Fleck's request shows that that's now a need that we've asked for, that we haven't discussed. Lastly, the project to bring the cooperative extension on site, which we've been talking in the past of somewhere in the neighborhood of $500,000, is now at very least, looking at the recommendations brought to us, which I think the work is tremendous, is, in my simple terms, probably no less than $1.25 million. And if we add 15% on top of that, we're probably going to be in the neighborhood of $1.5 million. So I'd like the delegation to be thinking in terms of that. I would like the county extension to be thinking of their space may only cost us $500,000, and they would like to structure their rent around $500,000. But the truth of the matter is, the good people of this county, and what I'm looking at right now, are going to have to expend closer to $1.5 million to provide that space. So our discussion has increased, I think, at least $1 million higher than where we were, and I look forward to our discussion as a delegation on that greatly increased price.
Okay, Representative Fleck and then McCarthy.
Just a clarification on the renovation of the co-op area. Two different figures. One doesn't increase floor space over the other approach, does it? In other words, no, we're just talking about the finished work inside, and there's a $200,000 for that alone, with that increase in space. Okay, that's fine, thank you.
Okay, Representative McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to agree with Representative McConkey. My figures are a little bit different, between $300,000 and $500,000, whether you go with the existing wall structure or you make it like new, $500,000. And then if you add in a third of the cost of the roof, that's close to $200,000. So you're talking a bare minimum plus 15% of $700,000 to $1 million to bring the co-op down here to save them $2,000 a month in rent. To me, that's ludicrous. You got to uproot the people that are in Conway to move them down here. I just don't understand why we're even thinking about that, spending $1 million to save the co-op $2,000 in rent. I just don't understand it. Not a month, a year, $2,000 a year in rent. I have no qualms with the $230,000 that we grant to the co-op every year. And that's fine. And I'll continue to vote for that. But to move them down here at a cost of $1 million, it'll take what, 20 years? Now they're saying $30,000 a year instead of $40,000, because $10,000 of that, the rent that they're paying goes for garbage disposal and water and the rest of it. So they're thinking now only $30,000 a year in rent. How long is that going to take for us to break even with this $1 million we're going to spend to move them down here?
Okay, Representative Algren.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Well, I don't know, I proposed a motion, I guess, last meeting, whatever, that we should try to set an amount of money that we're willing to dedicate to do whatever we need to do with what's going to have to go on over there and find out what that plan would be. And I threw out a number of, I think at the time of about $600,000 would be, we'd like to see a plan of what we can do when we spend about $600,000.
750.
So, whatever it was, but I
Not accepted.
and whatever the number is, but I mean, I think we've seen this, and I think we've seen that we're not, well, you know, I can't speak for all of us, but it certainly seems that we're not very happy with a $1.5 million number as what we plan to spend to do whatever we're going to do over at the old nursing home. So maybe we should discuss what we think is the number that we would like to spend and see what that best plan would be, and then we can vote on it up or down. Does anyone else think that we should try to start with the number and see what we can get and then vote on it?
Okay, Representative Knox.
We're not just talking about the co-op here, I don't believe. There are the pellet, I mean, I think we agreed that the pellet furnace is got to be somewhere, and I'm not sure how many, pardon?
Laundry?
The laundry, I'm not sure how far we go on this list of things that we've talked about for options, but I believe it's not just a question of the co-op. We're not just building this for the co-op. We've got other problems as well as this, the core building, which is not included in the present budgeting beyond the red areas in terms of demolition. If we don't do anything, that's just my quickie reaction to that.
Okay, Representative McCarthy, and then we'll go to Sorensen.
Yes, Representative, I did not add in any of the costs for the laundry, the pellet stove, the maintenance. None of that is in my figures. If you look at this, the figures that they gave us, anywhere between $300,000 and $500,000 just to rehab the co-op area. Period. Just the co-op area, between $300,000 and $500,000. If they use existing walls, it's $300,000. If they knock everything out, make it all brand new, it's $500,000. Plus $600,000 for the roof. You add, okay, 1/3 of the cost to that. So $500,000 plus $200,000 is $700,000. So anywhere between $500,000 and $700,000 just for the co-op.
Representative Sorensen, and then
Madam-
Knox and Schmidt.
Madam Chairman, is there any possibility that we can decide whether we construct a new building at $1.5 million or we renovate? My purpose is less than $1 million to renovate what we need. It seems to me that it's going to cost a lot of money, tear it down and rebuild it. 1.5 is only 10,000 square feet. We got all of the demolition that has to be done there in addition to that 1.5. Doesn't seem to me to be feasible to tear it down and build a new building. That's my take on it. I would propose, though, that we reduce the cost by redoing, redesigning, or whatever, to get it down below $1 million. $1.5 million or $1.8 million, to me, is not acceptable. $1 million would be to keep the core section and that portion of the wing and a full wing. The wings there is going to be minimum cost for the square footage that we would have as a result of that. But to build a new building, I think to me, is out of the question because of the cost of demolition, plus the 1.5 million just to get a 10,000 square foot building.